It is week 7 of the fantasy football season, and so much has changed. Since we did those 2024 rookie drafts, it feels like an eternity ago. But knowing what we know now, we're going to be hopping into a Dynasty time machine today to go back in time and redo those 2024 rookie drafts, knowing the knowledge that we have on these players through the first 7 weeks of the fantasy football season. So if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you do me the favor, hit the subscribe button down below. You want to catch all of our future content. But without wasting any more time, you know we got to hop into this video, and we got to bring my co-host MFGDs in, as this is Let's Talk Dynasty. So let's hop right into this. War, how we doing today, man?
Hey man, we doing good, man. Let's get this started, man. I'm excited. I'm ready to roll.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen for the folks at home. We have 3 rounds to get through today. We're going to try and do this as quickly as possible, maybe present 60-second arguments for why we are picking the people we are picking in these certain selections. But look, man, we're going to redo that 2024 draft class. For the folks at home, I have the settings up at the top. You see 2024 rookie redraft, 12-team Superflex PPR tight end premium. That is the operation that we are going to be moving forward with today. But War, you have the 101, and the 101 is going to be who?
Oh man, it's the suspense is killing me. It's killing me, right? Like who am I gonna pick? I'm gonna pick the same person I would have picked any time. I'm gonna pick 18. I'm gonna pick number 18. That was years ago. I thought we wiped the slate clean. Yes, I'm gonna take 18. Nope, Caleb Williams. I see it. I don't want a one-read quarterback. I want a quarterback that could go through all their progressions. You know why? Because it's sustainable. It's sustainable. It has longevity, and longevity is Caleb Williams coming fresh off of a game where he threw for 4 touchdowns. The man is already third in Bears rookie history in passing touchdown, and we just get into week 7. Let's go, baby. Generational Caleb Williams.
Look, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. But that leaves me a very easy selection for me here at 102, because I'm going to take Jayden Daniels. I mean, we're talking about rookie quarterbacks, guys who have been out here going crazy. Jayden Daniels right now, if I'm remembering off the top of my head correctly, the quarterback 2 in fantasy football at the current moment here in week 7. He has been scoring fantasy football points. He runs the football. You said he has that, that first read issue. I don't care as long as he's scoring fantasy points for me. And if he's on my lineup scoring those points, I am more than happy to take him. I think these 2 guys specifically at the quarterback position have separated themselves quite far from the rest of the pack. Whereas earlier in the season, when we were doing these rookie drafts, there was conversations as to, is Jayden Daniels really better than Drake Maye? Is Jayden Daniels potentially going to be, a guy that we could see fall to the 3, the 4, the 5 spot? No, sir. Jayden Daniels is the 102, and I think there's an argument he could have been the 101. But you are on the clock here at the 103. Who are we going with?
At the 103, man, look, today's thing is generational talent. Who does that leave me? I'm going to take Marvin Harrison Jr., baby. I'm going to take him. Listen, I understand that he, got a little dinged up in our most recent memory, but the man simply got it. And he has a quarterback who is young, who's going to be there, who's going to be with that franchise to deliver him the ball. I don't think there's too much to say about Marvin Harrison Jr. I think we're talking about the same type of wide receivers, the ilk of a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson. He's just getting his feet wet, and he already looks like a stud. I don't think I can go wrong at all with taking Marvin Harrison Jr. here.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, we viewed him as the generational guy coming in. Obviously, a little bit of a slower start outside of that week 2 performance that he had. But you want to talk about a guy who has been balling. You got to name Malik Nabers in that breath. Malik Nabers looks like a damn superstar, and he's doing it without the quarterback play, without, some of the other variables around him. I think this kid there's a real argument to me right now that Malik Nabers is a top 5, top 6 Dynasty wide receiver in my rankings here today. I personally would have taken him over Marvin Harrison Jr. At that 103, but he is going to be the pick for me there at the 104.
All right, all right. You can't really go wrong with that. But I'm continuing today's theme 3 times in a row. Generational. Look, he's already getting loaded up. Brock Bowers, baby, the future best tight end in the NFL. Brock Bowers, baby. Talk about doing it without a quarterback. My God, Brock Bowers is doing it. He's doing it with Aiden O'Connell. He's doing it with Gardner Minshew. He doesn't even have a competent quarterback. He just has 2 guys on the field throwing him the ball. And what is he doing? Oh, he's just catching 15, 20 passes a game. He's doing things. And now, you know what? Who's not there now? Devontae Adams. Oh, my God. This guy's the best player on the Raiders. And he is going to be my draft pick. He's generational. He's Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say anything negative about that. I think Brock Bowers, if you had worries, which I'm not going to lie, look, you can go back and look at the receipts here on the channel. I said I loved Brock Bowers as a prospect. I thought year one would be slow. Year one is not slow for Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers looks like he might finish as the tight end one as a rookie. He looks legit. But for me, this is where I think it gets interesting because I do feel like these 5 guys have separated themselves as the elite talents in the class so far. We kind of knew that these guys would be elite talents, but here you can go a whole bunch of different directions. And maybe I'm relying on priors. Maybe I'm relying on recency bias. But what I'm doing is I'm selecting Drake Maye. And Drake Maye in his first start with the New England Patriots, he threw 3 touchdowns. We knew that Drake Maye was going to be one of the top prospects in the class anyways. I think in a super flex format, when you're looking at guys like Odunze, guys like Brian Thomas Jr., JJ McCarthy, as much as I like those guys, and I think those guys are going to be fine players at the NFL level, Drake Maye, he was the prospect that we liked. He got the top 3 draft capital, and now we've seen him go out in his first start and put some stats on the board. I think Drake Maye still has an argument as a top 6 pick here in the redraft.
Yeah, Drake kind of popped off the screen in his first game. I'm not mad at that pick at all. So my next pick, man, I'm gonna be honest. Just like you say, you're gonna go with recency bias. I'm gonna go with what I believe to be the future prospects of this player, even though he hasn't shown it yet. I'm pretty sure Andrew knows who I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Odunze, even though everything tells me I should take the guy that Andrew more than likely is gonna pick next. I'm gonna take Odunze because I simply just think, and partially because of a lot of things I learned from talking to Andrew about what he thinks of Odunze. I'm going to go him because I just think the future is real bright. He hasn't really connected with Caleb Williams the way we want him to connect yet, but I don't think Keenan Allen's going to be there. And I really do think if you guys want to go out and acquire Odunze, I really think this guy's poised for a huge second half of the NFL season and could potentially be a league winner down the stretch. I really do believe it. It could even come as early as right after this bye week. So my stock is still super high on Odunze, not just because he's a Bear, but because I think that the guy's just going to be one of the more elite wide receivers in the league in the future.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking with you about Odunze in a league, it's a league where I am the number 1 team right now. I'm trying to push those chips in and go chase a championship. I have Odunze on the team, and he hasn't been playing a lot of games for me. I told you that I would need a young stud like a Drake London or a young stud like a Devonta Smith or something like that, where that would have to be what I need to move off of Odunze because I believe in him still that much. So I definitely think he is a super talented player, and I still think, as much as we've seen some flashes out of some of these other guys, Odunze to me is still the 3rd best wide receiver in this class, and I don't mind you taking him there. But for what I would be doing is here at the 108, I'm still going with JJ McCarthy, man. JJ McCarthy, he is out of sight, out of mind, I think, for a lot of people, and I think that is benefiting us in the Dynasty landscape because JJ McCarthy right now, I said it on a video last week, he is my favorite buy in Dynasty fantasy football right now at the quarterback position. We were talking about McCarthy and Maye somewhat being close in rankings preseason, and then obviously we had the JJ McCarthy meniscus tear that resulted in him not playing this year. Well, one thing that has confirmed my priors is that JJ McCarthy, I think, is a good quarterback. But what I know is that Kevin O'Connell is an elite play caller at the NFL level. The Minnesota Vikings are an elite offensive situation. And when you can bring in a guy like Sam Darnold, who just, in all honesty, hasn't gotten it done at the NFL level, and he looks the way that he looks right now, a top 10 fantasy football quarterback, then you add JJ McCarthy, who has some rushing upside, has the arm talent, has some of the stuff that Sam Darnold doesn't necessarily have. I think the ceiling for McCarthy is going to be very, very high. And even though he's out of sight, out of mind, like I said, if I'm redrafting this today in a super flex league and I'm picking between a guy like BTJ or Xavier Worthy or Jonathon Brooks or any of these other names versus JJ McCarthy, the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Do not be fooled with the Sam Darnold experience this year. JJ McCarthy is the next guy up for me.
I'm surprised by your pick, but I don't think it's a bad pick. It probably would have been my pick here. The only thing that gives me pause about JJ McCarthy, and it's something stupid. It's not even anything based in anything. It's just like, man, could we really have 4 or 5? I don't know if we want to count Bo Nix in there. Can we really have 4 or 5 good starting quarterbacks in this draft? It just seems unrealistic. It's almost like, is there room for JJ McCarthy to be one of the guys? So like, that's the only thing that gives me pause on it. But it's not even really.
I would say my only argument to that is let's look back at 2020. 2020 had Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts in that draft as well, and Jordan Love in that draft as well. So we got 5 guys in that class. I think this class projects closer to 2020 than any class we've seen since. It's possible. It's possible. This could just be 2020 reincarnated.
That'd be crazy. Well, with that said, I'm going to take the player I thought you were taking. I'm going to take BTJ. If there was any wide receiver in this draft that could crack that top 3 of the guys that we think are the best wide receivers in this draft, is BTJ. The only thing that has me kind of hesitant on BTJ is his quarterback, man. His quarterback is lost. Like he his law, I don't know if he's using Head and Shoulders or his soap is getting in his eye or what, but he's lost sometimes, man. I know it could be recency bias because the Bears just killed the Jags, and Brian Thomas didn't even do any good in that game. But I know a stud wide receiver when I see one, and I just trust the guys to come out of LSU unless like you're like Terrace Marshall or something. I trust you. Brian Thomas is a stud. And I do think that he is a part of the Big Four. This is a Big Four draft. We didn't know it. We thought it could have been a possibility, but it's a Big Four draft. No, it is not Keon Coleman. He couldn't even step up to the point that the Bills had to go out and make a trade. So, I mean, Brian Thomas is the guy. He's one of the 4 guys that I feel like are going to be guaranteed studs at the wide receiver position in this rookie draft.
Agreed. He was the obvious next pick to me. It was McCarthy and Thomas as that next tier. But here is, I think you could go a whole bunch of different directions.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest here. I don't love the idea of making this selection, but I think it's the correct selection based off of what we've seen. And I am going to be drafting Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. Look, man, he is right now the quarterback 14 in fantasy football as a rookie, and he hasn't looked good doing it. But the point is, he's been a high-end QB2, and he has a lot of rushing upside that I think we saw flashes of at times at Oregon that I don't think a lot of us baked into the fantasy football production of what Bo Nix can be. Now, obviously, the situation in Denver is not great. I still don't love Bo Nix's long-term outlook, but he very much feels like a guy that can give you 2 years of QB2 production in a super flex league or 3 years of QB2 production before maybe he eventually gets replaced if he doesn't develop. But I think right now you're looking at a guy who can just do enough with his legs. It's going to be inaccurate with the arm. Maybe he scores a couple touchdowns here and there, but in a super flex league where you need QB play and in 12 teams when not every team can have, that extra value at the QB position, I think just having a guy like Bo Nix on the roster where you can plug him in bye weeks or maybe even just start him at the QB2 spot sometimes, it's going to have value. So Bo Nix, even though I think it's not the sexiest pick, it's not the most attractive pick, it's probably the correct one here.
Yeah, maybe you got a steal here, according to like one of our fellow YouTubers in the fantasy football community, you just drafted the best quarterback in the draft. So I mean, let's go, Bo Nix. I'm gonna go with Lad McConkey here. Why am I gonna go with Lad McConkey? They're like you said, this is kind of where the draft really starts for us, because you start to get to where like, okay, it's more of a like preference based drafting. I just think Lad McConkey is still in a prime position. The 2025 draft isn't necessarily known for having, big time wide receivers in it. I mean, I'm sure there's
a couple at the top, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some some, but I say that to say that I don't think the Chargers are going to go that route of getting a wide receiver. Maybe they'll trade or sign one in free agency. But I think Lad McConkey will definitely have this season and next season to develop and be one of those guys. I do not expect Justin Herbert to be what he is right now. Like, to me, this is I was telling Andrew and some of the guys we played with earlier in the week, this is like a bye season for Herbert in terms of fantasy. I still think that team is trying to win, but I think in terms of Herbert, this just is a throwaway fantasy season for him. While they retool and restock his offensive weapons, this year isn't the year for that. But I think by the time next season comes around, I'm kind of projecting Herbert to be better. So I'm kind of projecting Lad McConkey to be even better. And he's not doing too bad this season. I mean, you can kind of look at him and see that these other 4 wide receivers we drafted ahead of him, they're doing so exceptional. Lad McConkey is having more of a, up and down regular rookie type season. So I think that he has decent little numbers or whatever, but I think that he has a chance to blow up even more as Herbert gets more comfortable with him and as the offense just progresses as a whole under Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike that pick at all. I think he was definitely in the conversation. I think there was 3 guys that I at least see in a grouping here, and I don't mind you taking McConkey. I think he's on tape, even though the production hasn't been there, like you said, on tape, I think he's shown us the most of the guys that we've seen. I am going to go in a different direction here, and rounding out our first round, coming in at the 112, I am going to take Jonathon Brooks of the Carolina Panthers. And look, we have seen Chuba Hubbard be fantastic in this offense in Carolina, and we know that with Dave Canales likes to use those running backs. He made Rachaad White a top 10 guy last year. He made Chuba Hubbard right now a top 10 guy. Jonathon Brooks, he has not played because of the torn ACL. He is now back at practice. He's getting ready to make his debut here very shortly in the next week or so, most likely for the Carolina Panthers. And it may be a slow back half of the season while he kind of reacclimates to football. But I think Jonathon Brooks, if you're looking at this class, really, there hasn't been any running back production. Like, some of the best running back production we've gotten in this class has been guys like Bucky Irving and guys like, late round dudes. And I think Jonathon Brooks, he's the most talented running back in the class. We had him as the RB1 going into the year. He had the highest draft capital of all of the guys. And I think just based off of what I've seen, similar to my argument with JJ McCarthy, where we've seen Sam Darnold be good in the offense, we've seen Chuba Hubbard be good in the offense, and Jonathon Brooks is more talented than Chuba Hubbard. So I'll take the upside shot on Brooks long term. This is a guy who maybe in a 2-year window here, the back half of this year is a league winner, maybe, if he gets into that full workload. And then next year, I think, assuming that, the offense looks similar and maybe even improves based on maybe a new quarterback being under center in free agency or some added weapons, whatever, Jonathon Brooks could potentially be a low-end running back 1 next year for dynasty teams.
I'm not mad at it. Taking a gamble on him, like, I know he hasn't played yet, but like, it's clear that he's one of the guys you have to roll the dice on despite playing just like JJ McCarthy. So I'm not mad at that pick there. So here we are to kick off the second round. There's kind of a couple options I was looking at here, and they both kind of give me indigestion at this point. Oh geez Louise. Okay, I'm going to take Xavier Worthy, and I don't feel good about it at all. There's like kind of a part of me that's kind of just like, he might turn out to be another Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chief failed experiment. I mean, and I don't want to throw dirt on the kid this early. I really don't. He's a hell of a kid. But I mean, some of the concerns that I've had during the offseason when everybody was selling their firstborn child to get Xavier Worthy, they're starting to come up, and then he had that first, huge hurrah, earlier in the season, but now he's just been like just super duper. I had to throw duper in there, super duper pedestrian. He has not been the lightning rod that I thought he was going to be. He's been fast, but it's just been the same old. Like, please, Xavier, please be better than freaking dipshit that they released earlier this season.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah. Please be better than him. Please. Andrew hates that guy.
Yeah.
Um, that's all I got to say, man. So I mean, if there's a word to describe this pick, it's hope. So I
Yep.
mean, that's what we're going with. Let's hope Xavier Worthy is worthy of this selection.
Yep. I mean, I agree. Look, he was definitely that grouping of three. To me, it was Ladd, Brooks, and Worthy. And Worthy, he's not shown the flashes that we'd hoped. I think he had a lot of opportunity where he potentially had, Rasheed Rice go out for the rest of the year, and we just haven't gotten the production that we've wanted. It is what it is, man. At the end of the day, I think Worthy, the first round draft capital is what you bank on. The talent is what you bank on, and you hope that he gets it figured out long term. That's really the idea. Now here is where I honestly feel like it is a crapshoot. Like it's just anybody and everybody. I don't know. We're going to have to start making some real arguments. And I'm looking at this draft board for me and I'm thinking, okay, who is the next guy that I would potentially draft? And I think I'm going to shock you with this one here.
We'll see let's see what you got.
I got to type the name in.
Oh.
I'm going Bucky Irving.
Okay, that's who I would have picked.
Okay, so I'm going Bucky Irving, and I said it. There really hasn't been any other running back production in this rookie class so far that I felt like at least has the chance to supplant the starter. I think right now, going into week 7, it looks like Bucky Irving is the 1A with maybe Sean Tucker as 1B, Rashad 1C. Like, I don't really know how to view this backfield. But the thing is, Bucky Irving has been overproductive, I think, to the point of where Rachaad White being underproductive has made this a conversation where they might even just make a switch this year. And we've kind of already started to see them do that. Now, looking at the running back position and the way we look at the running back position in Dynasty, obviously it's hard to project anything really at this point. We should be looking at the running back position the way we look at redraft running backs. Like, who can give me production for 1 or 2 years? That's it. Like, that's really the only way we should be looking at it. And I think Bucky Irving, there's a chance that he finishes the year this year as the starting running back for the Tampa Bay Bucks. And there's a chance he goes into next year as the starting running back for the Tampa Bay Bucks. And at this point, I can't say that for any other running back so far in this class. Braylon's been impressive. He's not supplanting Breece Hall. Corum, we haven't even seen him really do anything. Benson, we haven't seen him do anything. Bucky is kind of RB2 right now in the class, and I'll just take him here, the 2-2.
I'm going to do a quick little thought on Bucky real quick. That thing is scary in Tampa Bay, isn't it? That running back. So you were saying 1A, 1B, 1C. Tell me if you agree with this feeling. Going into the season, I think we all had Rachaad White as, a young, up-and-coming, potential stud running back. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like Rachaad White could lose his job at any given moment. Out of those, with all the uncertainty of the Buccaneers backfield, the one thing I am certain of out of all of this is that Rachaad White isn't going to be the guy that ends up as the number one guy. I feel like his star is falling. He just looks like a complete complimentary back to me. The other two just seem like better runners. Like, I feel bad for Rachaad, but I don't know, man. And until last week, if we did this same show last week, oh yeah, man, I don't even think I would have been pounding the table for Bucky. I was like, yep. He would have been my pick here too, but I would have been even more certain. And then Sean happened. Sean Tucker happened. So I just don't know. But one thing I do know is that Rachaad White, he's not the person we thought he was now.
Yeah,
so.
It's unfortunate. I have him in a league and I've been trying to sell him for, it feels like a month now. Like, I've been trying to sell Rachaad White for a month, and it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I'll take any second round pick anybody wants to give me. Doesn't matter if it's late, doesn't matter if it's in 2026. Just give me a second round pick. And nobody wants to do that. Like, it feels like Rachaad White is dead. Like, the dynasty value is dead on Rachaad White. And he feels like he is stuck on my roster until he shows us signs of life again. And that may not be with Tampa Bay. That may be with a new team next year that he's showing us signs of life. So it's unfortunate. But yeah, I think of all of the guys, you can at least say this coaching staff, this regime, they drafted Bucky, and Bucky is probably in the plans, at least as a rotational guy for the next season or two.
Yeah, I mean, we could at least say that because he just got drafted, but poor Rachaad. So my next pick, I feel like I'm passing over a hell of a lot of talent here, but I feel like the opportunity cost here is just so great. I feel like the opportunity is great with this guy. I'm gonna go with Tyrone Tracy.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, I feel like I'm
Wow.
passing on a lot of talent here. But here's the thing: we all know that fantasy football, and we're talking about a rookie. You could be specific and say dynasty. Opportunity is a huge thing, and I'm sorry, but there's no running back on the Giants roster that makes you say he can't be like Devin Singletary. Motor is a great, like, little complimentary back. Tyrone Tracy has the opportunity to just come in and just completely take over. And it's going to be up to Tyrone Tracy, especially, and we talked about it with the running back class of next year. It's going to be up to Tyrone Tracy to show everybody in that organization that they don't need to draft a running back. And the opportunity is there because the person ahead of him and the person behind him, Gray, neither one of those guys scream that they could solidify that running back spot. Devin Singletary's injury cracked open the door. Tyrone Tracy has come in and he's done what he needed to do. He just has to keep doing it. Take Devin Singletary's job. Become a stud running back this year. That opportunity is there. And I'm kind of just willing to pass on all the talent that's ahead of him, just to gamble on that opportunity he has, and thoughts that he could seize that opportunity and never look back and make the Giants think that they don't have to draft a running back next year. So it's kind of a gamble, but I'm gonna take that shot here.
Look, I did not expect that name to be the name that came off the board, but I can't hate on it too much. I think that obviously, there's, like you said, some more talented guys that could potentially be in this mix here, but I think Tracy was coming off in the second round regardless. You just kind of claimed him as the second 203. For me, he was a guy that in the fifth rounds, like fourth and fifth rounds of rookie drafts last year, I was just, let me throw the dart throw at Tyrone Tracy. The opportunity is there. The opportunity is there, at least as the RB2. And you're right. When he got the opportunity to come in and fill in, he's looked fantastic. And even Dayball has said, like, he is going to be more involved in our offense no matter what moving forward. Even if Singletary is healthy, Tracy has a role. And so the fact that you've opened that door, it is his job to go in there and keep taking each and every week. So I definitely like that. Maybe I would have went a couple other guys over him, but like I said, I can't say he would have went too much further deep into the second round. But for me, I'm going to go back to a guy that we just have seen nothing from, and we probably will not see much from for a little while. And I'm going to go with Michael Penix. I'm going to take the last first round pick at the quarterback position here at the 204. Look, to me, this comes down to value inflation. People are going to remember he is a first round quarterback pick and he's a quarterback in Superflex. It's going to be very hard for him to go out there and lose value over the course of time if he's not playing. Now, we eventually assume that he is going to be the future plan for the Falcons. I think that will come eventually. 2 years from now, I don't know. 3 years from now, I don't know. But here's the thing. If you would have drafted Jordan Love in the second round in 2020, which kind of profiles as more so the way that this situation is going for Penix, I do think that you would be very happy with that selection today. So I would just draft Michael Penix here. Maybe he's a guy I keep on my taxi for 2 years if I can allow him to sit there on the taxi for 2 years. But Penix is the pick for me right here. And yes, there's a lot of talented players, but this has the most value to me.
I'm not going to be mad at that. Penix definitely deserved to go within the next couple picks. So as long as Kirk keeps playing fantastic, Penix is going to be waiting, but I'm not hating. The pick I'm going to go with next, keeping with the theme of guys you haven't seen anything from really, I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell just because I still believe in the talent level of Adonai Mitchell. Yes, there's a couple of running backs here, but I think those running backs don't have the same opportunity that a guy that I just drafted, Tyrone Tracy, has. Benson probably would have been good here because he has opportunity, but just like with Derrick Henry, I'm kind of just done like assuming James Connors is gonna roll over and die. So I'm gonna go Adonai Mitchell. I'm gonna lean on his future. If the future includes Anthony Richardson, is the problem. Man, yeah, it's a huge problem because if Anthony Richardson doesn't pan out, I don't want to take us too far off track here, Andrew, but a quick sidebar here because it relates to my pick. How long do you think they're going to give Anthony Richardson to show something before the whole entire coaching staff and front office is fired, and he's shot straight into the sun.
I think when you drafted Anthony Richardson, you had to understand, we as fantasy football players saw him and said, that's a raw prospect. He has athletic profile, but he's a raw prospect and he's going to need to be developed. And I would assume that the coaching staff and the general manager and the owner, when you make that selection, you understand that it's going to be rocky. There's going to be a roller coaster. You got to get him groomed at the NFL level and make him an actual NFL quarterback. And you got to give the kid 2-ish years, I think, to become that for you. But the problem is that he's not staying healthy. He didn't play his rookie year. He's not playing really this year because of the hip pointer, or the oblique injury or whatever it is. He needs to be on the field if he wants to develop, and he's not on the field. So it's like almost it feels like we're going into, the middle of year 2 at this point, and he has like 5 NFL games under his belt.
Sheesh.
He's a rookie still.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough.
So as that relates to my pick, I'm kind of just gambling on what you said. I'm kind of gambling on Anthony Richardson getting healthy, because if that doesn't happen, we're looking at an even further extended period of time for Adonai Mitchell. Let's be honest here. With Joe Flacco, this legitimately looks like, and I know Adonai hasn't really gotten into the mix yet, this looked like it's a 4-deep, potentially 4-deep wide receiver core of guys that could actually be productive. I wrote Alec Pierce off for dead in this offense.
Yeah.
I wrote Alex Pierce off, and Joe Flacco has revived all through. Josh Downs, he was getting sold for like 3rd-round picks this offseason. And look at him with competent quarterback play. Michael Pittman, we know he brings to the table. And I guess all I'm saying is I still believe Adonai Mitchell's talent level, and talent doesn't always translate into production. I still think he has the most talent level highest talent level out of all those receivers. All he needs is talent, is competent quarterback play. And unfortunately for him, as far as this season, he hasn't really been the one to benefit from that time that Joe Flacco has played, because you already had 3 guys who've already had seasoning in the NFL ahead of him on the depth chart. But I guarantee that the Colts aren't looking at, I don't know about Josh Down, but they for sure not looking at Alec Pierce and saying, okay, we're going to keep Adonai beneath Alec Pierce. So Adonai, I'm banking on the talent level, and that's just who I'm going to go with. Like them this offseason, still like them now. It just hasn't happened yet.
Fair enough. All right, at 206, I am going to go a player that I'm rising on a tiny bit. It's going to be Xavier Legette. I'm going to take Xavier Legette. I mean, I just want to pull up his player card here for a second as we talk about him. It seems like once he started to get into a little bit more of a role, we started to see some flashes. 19 points in week 4, 11 points in week 6. I think they're using him in a way where it is going to benefit his skill set. This is a guy who needed to be utilized in a very specific role, but Dave Canales is kind of putting him into that role. I think he, just like we were talking about with Anthony Richardson, needed to be developed a little bit at the NFL level. He was a raw prospect as well, but the athleticism was off the chart. He's the guy that's kind of built like DK Metcalf, big body, strong, fast, but needs to clean up the route running. Legette, in a role that he's in right now, I feel more confident in Legette hitting and playing him in my flex spot than I do a guy like Keon Coleman, than I do a guy like Jalen Polk, Troy Franklin, some of these other guys that are even in the same conversation. So Legette, for me, if I had to redo it right now, I think he creeps his way all the way up here into this type of conversation.
Yeah, he rebounded great from guys that we don't expect much out of category. Yeah, he's definitely redeeming himself there. And he's doing it on a dog crap team, a completely dog crap team. So,
yep.
They have semi-competent quarterback play, semi-competent, not yet competent, but, better than Bryce Young, what he would bring it to the table. But
for what it's worth, Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson are probably not going to be there much longer. Deontay is on a 1-year deal, and Adam is close to riding off into the sunset. So
could potentially see one of those guys traded. Seen little whispers here and there about that.
Yep. So Legette could very quickly find his way to be number 1 on the depth chart.
Yeah. So my next pick here, while I said that I'm done writing James Conner off for dead, I'm just going to take Trey Benson here, because I feel like he's a guy that once he gets the opportunity, he's going to seize that opportunity. James Conner, I have no clue when James Conner's going to cede the throne to the next running back in line. But when he does, I have the confidence that Trey Benson could come get it done. Trey Benson is amongst the guys that we believed during the draft, before the actual NFL draft, that he was going to be one of the top running backs in rookie running backs coming into the season. But unfortunately for him, as it seemed for most of these running backs in this draft, they landed in horrible spots. Same with Braylon Allen, like guys that, you know, we wish would have went to teams where the running back that was already in place was on thin ice. It's easy to look at James Conner and think that maybe he's like one injury away from finally taking that long sleep goodnight. I don't like the way that sounded, but we're talking about fantasy production, y'all. We're not talking about the actual long sleep goodnight. Trey Benson, I'm willing to go with him there. I'm just not really inspired by a lot of the other selections I had here, and we're getting pretty damn close to the territory of guys that we're not sure we should expect anything out of category. And I just think that it wouldn't be fair for Trey Benson to be amongst those guys, because I actually think that there is a path for him to be a viable option in the fantasy football game.
I agree. He was one of my next guys up, but you're gonna make me do it. I'm gonna do it. Keon Coleman. Look, I haven't been the Keon Coleman guy ever really since the dawn of time. But Keon Coleman, you're talking about a guy who has early second round draft capital tied to Josh Allen. I know they just trade for Amari Cooper. You could make the argument that Keon Coleman not having to operate as the number one wide receiver might actually benefit him, so he's not seeing the strongest defensive coverage every week, because quite honestly, he doesn't run routes good enough to be the number one wide receiver. But him playing on the outside opposite of a guy like Amari Cooper, that might be better for him long term. So I'll just take the upside on the athleticism, the landing spot, and the draft capital, and I'll just draft him here at the 208 and hope that we have something here. But like you said, I haven't seen anything super inspiring from Keon Coleman to make me feel confident that he's going to hit. But right now we're teetering into territory of guys that we don't know if they'll hit at all. So give me Keon Coleman at the minimum.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to take him there. The next guy I'm gonna pick, I mean, like I said, we're starting to run out of run. We're starting to lose runway here. I'm gonna take Braylon Allen. I just see no clear path to him taking Breece Hall's spot. Nobody should see that path. That path should be completely hidden to everybody. But I think we can all agree that Braylon Allen is a good running back. Do I think there's a chance that he could develop into something where, and we've seen it before, where you've had a super stud running back, but the backup is so great that, you know, he carves out his own little niche in the offense where he can get you 10, 15 points, you know, here and there throughout the season. And that's the best we can hope for Braylon Allen while Breece Hall is there. You know, maybe he has a long touchdown, or maybe he scores the goal line. Maybe Breece comes out to get a breather and Allen just breaks a big one. I think that's the best we can hope for right now. Definitely not hoping for any injuries to Breece Hall or anything, but that's also a route for Braylon Allen to kind of get a chance to step up. But even then, when Breece Hall is there, I kind of compare it very similarly to the Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet situation, where you got the stud running back there, Kenneth Walker. He's definitely way more injury prone than Breece Hall, but it's kind of like the same concept. He's a stud. So even if he gets injured, when healthy, there's nothing a backup could really do to make them say, hey, we're going to go ahead and, you know, split your carries straight down the middle, or give a bunch of more touches to, like, you see Kenneth Walker got hurt. Zach Charbonnet did well, and it still wasn't enough for Seattle to say, hey, okay, we're in a timeshare now, because Kenneth Walker is just a stud. So I think this is the same situation. Braylon Allen got to get in where he fit in. And that's just how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think elite handcuff is what you're drafting. If you can get him to be, you know, a Charbonnet, a Tyler Algier is another name that came to mind for me. Like, if he can be in that mold, he'll have value eventually. So I think we've seen him already have value before, but I'm going to go with another player here that has been out of sight, out of mind, making his debut this week. I think Ricky Pearsall of the San Francisco 49ers. So he is a guy that I was very high on coming into the rookie draft period. I had him above guys like Leggett, above guys like Coleman. And I just felt like he was a guy who I thought was a fringe first round pick, early second round type of guy. And obviously a lot has changed since that rookie period. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk has signed an extension to be there long term. Ricky Pearsall had the unfortunate situation of getting shot and not playing the start of the year. Obviously, you know, we're very happy that Ricky Pearsall was able to, you know, not make that happen to be any worse than it was. But that being said, Pearsall, I still think he's talented. My mindset has changed a little bit. It's not so much a clear path for Pearsall. He needed a hurdle, one of those wide receivers to leave for him to be relevant. I think
Yeah.
now it's more so, is Deebo Samuel going to be here long term, or is it going to be Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen, but Pearsall, I do know he is a first round wide receiver who I believed was talented, who I believed in was actually a good route runner and all of these things. So I'll take the shot, even if he has to sit on a taxi squad for a year until we get some more, I guess, clarity on what happens with Deebo Samuel long term here in San Francisco.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now I think we've arrived at the place we're talking about now. This is where wins could become losses and losses could become wins. This is the witching hour. And I'm gonna make some picks that a lot of you guys ain't gonna agree with. So my next pick is way down on the keep Trey cut list. I'm gonna take this guy because Andrew will tell you I've taken him in damn near every dynasty draft that we're in together. And it's because I believe in him. And this past week, he kind of proved me right. I'm going to take sweet baby Ray's Davis. I'm going to take sweet baby Ray's, baby. Yeah, man, you got to sauce it up. The sauce is the boss. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take Ray Davis here. Ray Davis, he's like the Suge Knight of the NFL. He's just a big dude. Like, he kind of has that early 90s running back look, doesn't he? Like, oh, yeah, I got a bald head and I'm freaking massive. And I just think that it's one of those things where you put the ball in Ray Davis's hands, you're going to get production. If Cook goes out, you're going to get production because Ray Davis can do it. Yeah, there's a ton of guys I could have taken, a ton of guys with way higher draft capital, but it's kind of like the Keon Coleman thing. Him being in the Bills offense, I'm also very comfortable with. And I think that it hasn't translated yet. I think there's a very specific role, and it could be going forward after his most recent performance. There's a very specific role that Ray Davis could play right now if the Bills decide to let him play it, and that's third down back. Third down back, goal line back. It's something that he can do right now, and he could be super productive doing it. And that's why I'm taking him here, because his role can be defined in that offense, and I think that's worth his selection in the second round for me.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I am going to make a selection here based off of potential and nothing that we've seen so far. But we talked about Drake Maye looking good. I'm going to take Jalen Polk here. I think, I don't know why it just opened his player card and didn't select him. I'm going to take Jalen Polk because I think that Jalen Polk is potentially one of the most talented wide receivers in this room. I mean, you got Demario Douglas, who looks very good, but Jalen Polk, he's going to play outside. He's had a little bit of a rough start, I feel like. Obviously, a lot of that was not because Drake Maye was not playing. It was going to be because of Jacoby Brissett. But also, he's seeing his snap counts kind of fluctuate right now. It's a little bit of a weird situation. But again, this is a guy who has second-round draft capital. He's tied to a rookie quarterback in Drake Maye. I kind of like when you have the rookie QB and the rookie wide receiver come in at the same time because they can kind of build rapport together from the beginning. I'll just take a shot on Jalen Polk here, man. Like we said, there's not a lot of guys here that make you feel super confident, but if you're looking for a glimmer of hope or a pathway to relevancy, at least Jalen Polk has one at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Pop Douglas, as he likes to call him, is his favorite. But
Yeah.
I could definitely see, as you see development with Drake Maye, that you're going to see some natural development in Jalen Polk. So I'm going to go with here, and this is just a dart throw, and there's other guys I could take. I'm going to go with Jalen McMillan because I like Jalen McMillan. A little wrench was, I thought that he was going to like burst onto the scene this season earlier because I didn't have Chris Godwin playing out of his mind on my bingo card. I just didn't have that on my bingo card. I'm not going to say I left Chris Godwin for dead, but I've definitely made some slick remarks about Chris Godwin this offseason about him being washed up and how Jalen McMillan could take his place. But I like Jalen McMillan. I think that he could carve out a role in that team. He just needs to, one, he got injured. And that kind of slowed down his production there, and his development. But I think that once he keeps going and keep developing, he'll be able to build that rapport with Baker and actually be more productive now. So I'm just going to take the dart throw of Jalen McMillan here.
Fair enough. And I'll just go right into mine. We'll speed through this third round because, like we said, a lot of these guys, we haven't seen enough from them yet. So it is still probably a lot of projection. But coming here in the third round at the 302, I am going to take Jalen Wright, running back for the Miami Dolphins. Now,
Okay.
we have seen Jalen Wright produce a little bit. He's flashed at times. We know really in this offense, they want to run two running backs, Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane is the current outlook, but I think we all can see it. Raheem Mostert is not a long-term option in this offense, and Jalen Wright is the eventual replacement. He's looked fine when he's gotten some touches. Hasn't been a world beater by any means, but at the end of the day, Jalen Wright, he is the long-term replacement for Raheem Mostert, and I could see this backfield as early as 2025 becoming Achane and Wright.
I believe that. I'm 100% with you on that. I actually probably should have went him over McMillan, but I didn't. I wanted to get Jalen McMillan in there. I like to put okay. I'm gonna tell you what gave me pause about Wright, and maybe it's because I'm just too the Tua thing, but there has to be Tyler Huntley, Skyler, they have to have a decent run. What I've learned is that they have to have a good quarterback for that offense to be what it is. Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle has been neutralized with bad quarterback play. And it's kind of scary with these Dolphins players where it's if you don't have someone competent in there, at least damn, if you don't have somebody competent in there, these guys are single digit scoring fantasy games. And this guy, Jalen, he's not even the primary back on that team. And, so what is he going to score? So that's kind of what went into it there. Kind of just projecting out, how long is Tua going to be able to do this? And are the Dolphins going to be able to find somebody to come in there and capitalize on these guys? But I'm not mad at your pick at all. Man, the Slim's pickings going here, man. I'm gonna take Blake Corum, and I don't feel good about it at all. Blake Corum, I feel like he's looked bad, and I don't know if that's fair to him. I don't know if he's gotten enough opportunity to look bad, but every time I looked up and they did have him handle the ball, he seemed to do nothing with it. He just looked slow and pedestrian the times I've seen him run, and I don't want to be too harsh because it's funny. The guy he's behind kind of looked the same way initially, and then look what happened. So I don't want to be too harsh on him, but I'm just going to take him here just based off of what we believed he could be going into the season.
Yeah, I mean, he probably would have been my next selection if he was available there at the 3-4. Again, a guy who's been worked in kind of slow, probably just a handcuff to Kyren Williams at this point. But I still have hope, only because I remember Kyren Williams as a rookie, we all said, well, he's useless. He was nothing.
Yeah.
And then second year, Sean McVay said, oh, Kyren Williams, he's over here. And I think that as much as he talked highly about Blake Corum in the offseason, he's still probably going to be part of their term or their plan there in Los Angeles. And Kyren Williams hasn't necessarily always been the bill of health either. So there's going to be an opportunity eventually. We just haven't seen it yet for Corum. Now I'm going to go back to Pryor's, a guy that I believed in. I banged the table for. And honestly, it probably does not look great up to this moment. I am going to select Troy Franklin of the Denver Broncos. I really liked Troy in the pre-draft process. He didn't have a great preseason. He didn't get off to the start that he wanted, but he's very recently and slowly starting to see himself get a little bit more involved into this offense. I mean, you see week 6 there, he has a little flash. Week 7 against New Orleans last week. Or this week, another flash. He's starting to kind of get used into the offense a little bit more. We haven't seen anything big yet, but we're talking about opportunity and guys that can potentially, find their way into a role in an NFL offense. I'll tell you what, Marvin Mims has been as pedestrian as it gets. Courtland Sutton, been whatever. At the end of the day, this wide receiver room is wide open still. And I said that I like when, you have Drake Maye, the rookie quarterback, and the rookie wide receiver come in at the same time. What about when you have the rookie quarterback and the rookie wide receiver come in at the same time from the same college that they played at together? I think, eventually things will click. It's just got to be Sean Payton getting out of his old school ways of the rookie has to earn the time.
Your favorite coach.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Sean Payton all day, but when Troy Franklin finds himself on the field, I think Bo Nix is looking his way. We've seen it a little bit over the last couple of days. 6 targets last week. That makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. And when we're looking at some of these other guys, I'll take Troy Franklin, man. I liked him in the pre-draft process. I'll take him in the 3rd round right now.
So now we're just dart throws. I'm going to take Marshawn Lloyd because I just don't think Josh Jacobs is a thud, man. I just don't think I think eventually he's going to have to get that thing up, and I think Marshawn Lloyd will be there to take it. He, you know what I'm saying? He was injured early in the season, so he's getting a little slower of a start than than we would think. This pick is purely based on, I believe in Marshawn Lloyd's talent. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost purely based on what I perceive as the inevitable downfall of Josh Jacobs. And when that happens, I think Marshawn Lloyd is going to be there to put his arm around your shoulder and just dust you off, and he's going to be productive. And if he does that to great success, then you won't have to worry about the Packers going out to get another running back. Marshawn Lloyd, I still think he has a ton of talent, and I think he'll be able to show it once he gets that albatross out of his way.
For sure. And Matt LaFleur has always wanted to use multiple running backs in his system. Marshawn Lloyd has just not been healthy up to this point. So for me, I'm going to go take probably a player that wouldn't be on a lot of people's draft boards at this moment. Maybe he would. I'm going Jordan Whittington of the Los Angeles Rams. I think he's the selection for me here just because we have seen flashes from Whittington with Puka and Cooper Kupp out. And that being said, we don't expect Cooper Kupp to, continue to be healthy in the back part of his career long term. He always seems to be struggling with some type of injury at this point. And also, we know he's a little bit older, so he might not even be around for that much longer. So Whittington, I've seen enough flashes that I've been comfortable flexing Jordan Whittington in redraft leagues. I've been comfortable flexing him where he is in certain dynasty formats. If I feel like I can plug you into my lineup and I'm getting you in the third round of a dynasty startup or a rookie draft, give me that type of player all day long, because I just want these guys to be able to crack my lineup, and Whittington has definitely cracked lineups for me so far this year.
I'm not too mad at that. He's been able to get in there and show something. It's just there is a path that he has to wait and endure before he gets an actual opportunity, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, but he's done well his opportunities. So next guy I'm gonna pick, man, honestly, I'll be completely honest, I haven't paid a hell of a lot of attention to this guy. I'm strictly picking him based on who his quarterback is. I know I call this quarterback a one read, one trick pony, but Ben Sinnott. I know he was one of the I know that he's one of the more talented tight ends that came out in this draft, but this is strictly because I think he has a stud at the quarterback position, and I think that he'll be able to take advantage of that. And that's what I'm hoping for with this selection here, that he'll be able to just be paired with Jayden Daniels, for the foreseeable future, as some of those other guys around him, Terry McLaurin, that's pretty much it. Terry McLaurin, start to fade a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, we saw this situation with funny because I think it was Kingsbury actually is the head coach in the same situation, but Trey McBride was behind Zach Ertz, and now Ben Sinnott is behind Zach Ertz in Washington. And it's year two, Trey McBride, he burst onto the scene and he looked really good. And I think maybe year two, Ben Sinnott is a guy that could burst onto the scene if Zach Ertz is no longer around or maybe just keeps aging out. But I think the one thing that gives you hope is Ertz has looked fine in this offense so far this year. And he was a guy that was kind of dust going into the year. People didn't even want Zach Ertz. I think he was on waiver wires in some leagues. And he's looked all right. So I don't mind the Ben Sinnott pick. For me, man, we are really down there. I think I'm just going to take another shot on a guy who got some draft capital and is in that same offense, Luke McCaffrey. I'll take Luke McCaffrey and see if he can develop opposite Terry McLaurin. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. You hate to see that McCaffrey's not outplaying guys like Noah Brown or some of these other guys that are in that offense at the moment. But again, I'll take the draft capital and I'll take the offense of being tied to Jayden Daniels here for Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah. I mean, can't be too mad at it. At this point in the draft, you kind of just have to close your eyes and point and hope that you get something good out of it. Oh man, I really don't know who to pick here, so I'm gonna go with my guy. I'm gonna go with Eric All. I feel like Eric All is starting to show little by little. I feel like he was one of the, if not the most talented tight end in this draft. In the draft where, and yeah, I'm taking him over Theo Johnson. I'm fully aware I'm taking him over Theo Johnson. I just truly believe in Joe Burrow. This is similar to the Ben Sinnott pick. I think Eric All he needs is no pun intended. All he needs is the opportunity, and then once he gets that in its entirety, he'll be able to do the damn thing. So yeah, that's what I'm going with here. I traded for him this offseason in one of our leagues, and I did that for a reason, knowing that it's going to be a longer term deal before I actually see it bear fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting for you to pick him. I thought you were going to pick him earlier when you were talking about Jalen McMillan. I thought you were maybe going to go Eric All at that point. So, uh, yeah, I know he's your guy, but I'm going to take one more. I guess I got 2 picks here, right? So I guess one of my picks here, I'm going to take, man, there's a couple guys that I feel like I want to sneak into the video just to talk about, but I need to pick it as if I was actually on the clock. And I think if I'm actually on the clock at the very moment, I'm taking Kamani Vidal for the Los Angeles Chargers. And it's just because we saw a tiny flash out of Vidal last week. It was the first, little glimmer that we've seen from him so far this year. But with Gus Edwards on IR, J.K. Dobbins' legs being made of paper mache, I think, we're looking at Vidal where he is a Dobbins injury away from a massive workload in an offense that wants to run the football. And I think he's going to slowly start carving himself onto the football field a tiny bit more with Gus Edwards out of the lineup. So if I'm taking a shot on any of these guys at the moment, I'll take the shot on Vidal. And if he hits and he does get into a role, I'm going to be trying to flip him for a 25 seconds so I can draft a better running back next year.
Yeah, that's the Andrew way. That's the Andrew way right there. Who am I gonna take for my last pick? Jesus, I want to take. I honestly want to take Spencer Rattler just to talk bad about him, but I'm not going to, because it wouldn't be how I really feel about who I would draft. I'm gonna take Jermaine Burton, another Cincinnati Bengal. Because why not? Why not? T. Higgins is gonna be leaving. We know maybe Jermaine Burton could beat out Andre Iosivas. I think that's how you say his name.
Yoshavash.
Yoshavash. I think that he could, maybe beat out him. And then, the only real guy he has to worry about is Jamar Chase. We already know T. Higgins leaving after this season. So, I mean, Jermaine Burton, they kind of drafted him to be the T. Higgins replacement in the first place. So, we'll see, man. Jermaine Burton, dude. And that's going to be my last pick in this draft. And, let's see who you got.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a couple guys that I wanted to talk about. Spencer Rattler was one of the names that I thought about drafting, just because in Superflex, that QB is solid. But I think of the 2-game sample size we've seen out of Rattler, I know it's just 2 games, but it ain't looking great. Yeah, it ain't looking great. Well, you know what? Desmond Ridder was drafted in the second round? Was he the second round or the third round?
I don't know. It was early.
Well, Rattler was a 5th round pick, so at least the Saints got a better value on Rattler.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one guy that I don't really, he's done nothing. And I say absolutely nothing. There has been nothing that he has done this year. I'm going to take Roman Wilson for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's just a guy that we probably needed to sneak in here. And maybe the only reason why he makes this list is because we haven't seen him do anything. So he hasn't done anything bad to make us not want him at this point. So I'm going to take Roman Wilson there. Like we said, Pittsburgh, they know how to pick him. Obviously, the offense hasn't been great from a air standpoint. They haven't done a lot through the air. They've done a lot on the ground. There's a new quarterback change now with Russell Wilson this weekend. We'll see what happens. Roman Wilson has kind of been a healthy scratch for a good portion of the year. I know he was injured in camp. That probably might be playing a role into this. He just didn't get a lot of training camp. Also, Mike Tomlin, he's one of those old school guys as well. So I'll take Roman Wilson, man. But I'm going to give off a couple honorable mentions. I'm not going to talk deeply about them, but I'll throw them out there and I'll let you do the same. I think Rattler was close. We could have put Rattler. He's probably an early 4th round pick still, despite what we've seen. I would still take a shot on a guy like Malachi Corley, even though, he hasn't done too much. And I still think one more guy that probably needs to be mentioned is, where's he at? Javon Baker. I still like Javon Baker a little bit as well as a rookie wide receiver in that wide open Patriots offense. But do you have any honorable mentions that you would have snuck in?
Yeah, Theo Johnson. I could have took Theo Johnson at any point in this 3rd round. His quarterback sucks. I mean, even though Daniel Jones hasn't been half bad fantasy wise, but Theo Johnson, he definitely has the athleticism. They definitely talked him up a good deal on Hard Knocks. So I could have took him here. I guess my guy Bellinger is he he's just done at this point. So, Theo Johnson's my honorable mention.
JT Sanders was interesting too. He was interesting in the pre-draft process, and with that Carolina, I guess there's a couple more guys that would have been interesting dart throws. But outside of that, there's just not a lot left, man. And that's how these rookie drafts go. So there you have it, folks. You guys can see it on the screen. This is how we would go back and redo our rookie draft if we were in it today, knowing the information that we know now. There's definitely quite a few changes from that time that we were doing them earlier in the spring. So with that being said, if you did enjoy today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button. It is the best free way to show this channel some support. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. We just cracked 3,500, now on the way to 4,000 subscribers, trying to get to that, and hopefully 5,000 by the end of the NFL season if we can hit that stretch goal, hopefully. And also make sure you go join the Discord. The Discord is free to join, linked in the description. There's 250 plus people in that Discord wanting to talk fantasy football with you, and it is the best place to get my advice when I am not on camera. So you have that last minute start sit question, you got to throw it in the Discord. There's people to help you with that, and I'm in there to help you with that as well. War, where can they find your stuff at?
You can find me over on Crimson Mask Pro Wrestling, where we talk about WWE, we talk about AEW. Help us reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are so close. We're like 100 and something, 140 something away. Help us get there. You guys are amazing. We love you over there at Crimson Mask Pro Wrestling with an attitude.
Hell yeah. So that will be linked in the description as always, folks. But that said, I have nothing else for you today. So hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Next week's episode of Let's Talk Dynasty is your guys' favorite. It is a Dynasty trade review show. So we will see you on the next one. But until then, peace out.